Welcome to the question of the day. Today's question is from James in Florida. James asks, most of my closes happen after the original visit. I hear you talk a lot about one trip close, but I don't believe you can do it in our field. It's too big of a decision, and often the spouse isn't even there. That's a great question. I don't know if it's actually a question, though. It's more of a statement. But I guess I would say yes, it can be done. And the reason is I see tons of companies doing it. I work with lots of companies. I see tons of salespeople that are doing the one trip close. Now, I mean, is it 100%? No, nothing's 100%. Usually when I go visit a company, I tell them like anything I go over with you here, like nothing's 100%. And if anybody tells you it is 100%, like they're lying to you. The solutions I work for are going to work 90, 95% of the time, or have the potential to work 90, 95% of the time. But there's always going to be that 5% scenario that's just not going to work. So same thing here with one trip closes. A one trip close, I'll go over the things that make it work. And so these would be things that you'll want to check. Am I doing these things to the best of my ability that I can do these things and even get a second set of eyes that you're doing these things? I'll go over those, but it's still only going to be an opportunity of like 90, 95% of the time. There will be those 5% outliers there. But that's all I really want. I want a solution that's going to work almost every time, and those other ones we'll figure it out. But I get it. It's tough. It's tough to see potential in things that we aren't currently doing. It's kind of like retirement, right? Like when you're young, the thought of I'm going to put money away for what? Like I could be spending that money right now. I don't even make that much money because like retirement is such an abstract concept. You can't visualize yourself as an old person and needing this money. Now I'm getting a little closer. I'm starting to visualize that, right? I can see it. I can see it happening, right? And so same thing here. If we're not doing one trip closes, if we haven't seen anybody doing one trip closes, it's hard to imagine that it's possible. But I would say this, look back 10 years ago. Look at yourself 10 years ago. There was things you were doing 10 years ago that were tough. It was tough. And now today, fast forward to today, you're doing those things and they're easy. You don't even think about those things anymore because you 10 years ago didn't know how to do those things, didn't even know the potential that you could do those things. And now you do it without even thinking about it. It's muscle memory. So a couple things that you said in there. One was the spouse isn't even there. Yeah, that's a whole separate thing, right? Like that's when I do the objection boot camp, that's the number one objection I get asked about is the spouse isn't there. And so maybe I would save that for a whole nother podcast there. But like the spouse objection, yes, you want both decision makers there. And in the objection boot camp, we go over how you identify a spouse objection, and then you have an A, B, C, D plan that you execute. And even none of those work 100% of the time. But if you get some here, some there, you're getting more than just presenting to the one spouse. Yeah, because in that scenario, if you don't get that second spouse involved, yeah, obviously it's not going to be a one trip close because I don't know many people that are going to make that big of a financial decision without their spouse there. So this is spouse aside because that's a whole separate scenario. But spouse aside or working that model that you can get the other spouse involved, yeah, 95% of the time you should have an opportunity for a one trip close. The other thing, now you didn't say this, but I hear this a lot, and so I'm going to insert it here. But you said, I don't believe this works in our trade. Similar to that, I also often hear, Chris, this doesn't work in our area. Chris, you won't believe this, but we are in a highly competitive area. I've never actually met a company that wasn't in a highly competitive area. So, but I get told all the time, this stuff doesn't work in my area. One of my favorites was I went to visit a company in Brooklyn, an amazing company, and they told me like, Chris, you're in New York now, right? Like you're from the Midwest, but this is New York. Like people are different here, and a lot of this stuff doesn't work here. And so I rode along with them for a day, 2 days, 3 days, right? And on the fourth day we were coming together, and I I brought that back up because I knew I was going to. And so I had written it down the first day. Honestly, people in Brooklyn were the nicest people I'd ever met. Like that whole stigma of like the aggressive New Yorker, I don't know. I didn't see it the entire time I was there. I honestly thought they were some of the greatest people I'd ever met. They were open to following the process. I mean, now these were two really good salespeople I was following around there too. Very likable, but like I didn't see any of that. I'm New York and I'm not going to do what you say. Like, no, this works there too. These processes work pretty much everywhere. So here's the thing: the one trip close. Let's identify some specific areas you want to make sure that you have put in place so that you can be executing a one trip close. The first one is the big one, the obvious one: process. You want to have a defined path, a defined process. And this should be defined, like written down, like a playbook. It's written down. You should be able to like email me your process right now. If you can't email it to me, it's not written down. You don't have a process yet. In your head is not a process. And so we got to have a defined path. And that path needs to be executed every customer, every time, like a football play. You don't get to like change the plays. Like you execute the play that's in the playbook. Same thing here. You execute that sales process every customer, every time. And in a good process, all roads should lead to a certain point. It's a lot like a water slide. A good process is like a water slide. From the customer's perspective, it should take no effort to get started, no effort to go through the corners, and you end up in the exact same place every time. Now, anytime that you meet resistance or you get pulled out of that path, that means we missed something, or the customer did something unique that pulled us out of that process. But a great salesperson will know to get back in that process, right? So an example would be, do a visual agenda when you get there, but the customer runs around to the backyard and wants to look at the air conditioner right away. Well, it doesn't mean that we don't set a visual agenda. It means you'd follow them, chat with them a little bit, and then say, hey, before we get started, and then go into your visual agenda. You get back into process, right? So you got to have a defined process. All roads lead to that point, the sale, right? So that's number one. Do you have a defined process? Number two, questions. What kind of questions are you asking? Are you asking great open-ended question? Because I would ask you this question: who's in charge of the conversation? Is it the person asking the questions or the person answering the questions? Yeah, it's the person asking the questions. If I do a great job asking open-ended questions, that's going to be leading us down that path, that water slide. It's going to be leading us in the right direction. So we want to have great open-ended questions. Now, this one kind of goes with the process, but value. We got to build that process has to build value. There's no silver bullet here that I'm going to give you that's going to one trip close every time, but there's a ton of golden BBs throughout that process. You have to be building value in the company, value in the solution, value in you. And spoiler alert, you is the toughest, all right? Like they're already bought in on the company. Like they saw the commercial, the advertisement, they saw your truck as you pulled in. The solution, like unless you complicated it a bunch, they should be bought in on that solution. You're the wild card here. Did you make a good impression? Are they bought in on? So value, we have to have value. Now, to go a little bit deeper into value and that process, there's certain things we want to have weaved into that process as well. We want to know, I should know what my competition is doing. So you should know your competition like the back of your hand. What are they good at? What do they stink at? Know your competitors. But then on the flip side of that, know why you're awesome. Why is your company awesome? What does your company do that other companies don't? Why are you better than the competition? And those are the things you're going to weave into your process. Now, you're not going to dog on the competition. You're not going to say anything negative about the competition. But if I know my competition is subleasing out work, I'm probably going to talk about how Our company doesn't do that. And you know who's in your home, and we're background checked, right? So when we're around your kids, you're safe, right? Like I'm planting that seed that others don't. I'm not going to name them by name. I'm not going to say anything negative about them, but know your competition. Know where their shortfalls are. Know why you're awesome and why you're better in the competition, and weave that into your process. One of my favorites is the Google score, the Google review, right? Like if you have a good Google review and a lot of Google reviews, right? Like you're going to be better than your competitors because most companies I see have a low Google score and don't have a lot of reviews in, right? And so this is an example of weaving that into your process. One of your questions that you ask is, hey, how did you hear about us? And they're going to answer. They're either going to say, hey, I found you on Google. And you're going to say, yeah, I know we're 4.9 with 1,500 reviews. We stand out on Google. Or they're going to say something other than Google. And then your response is going to be, oh, most customers find us on Google. We're a 4.9 with 1,500 reviews. No matter how they answer that question, I'm telling them we're a 4.9 with 1,500 reviews. So they know we're awesome. And they're going to compare us to other companies who aren't as awesome because I know that's going to be their shortfall. So that's an example of how you weave that into your process. You make it conversational. You don't make it a sales pitch, you make it conversational. And I did it by asking a question. Now, the other thing that you want to weave into your process is today. Today is the best day to buy. And that's true. That's always true. It's true of every day. When I go do a sales onsite, when I go visit a company, a lot of times, I shouldn't say this because now if I come visit your company, you're going to know I do this. But I usually ask the sales team, I say, hey guys, I don't live here, right? Like, when's the best time to buy in your industry, in your area here? And I'm trying to see who has that attitude of today? Today is the best time to buy. Because that is the answer. The answer is today is always the best time to buy. What changes though is the reasons. Why is today the best time to buy? Today is going to be different than 3 months from now, than 6 months from now. Like those reasons are going to be different, but those will be the best day to buy. And so, do you know those reasons for today? And are you weaving that into your process to create urgency? So, today, and know why we're awesome. Weave that stuff into your process. Those are those golden BBs that I'm talking about. Now, the other thing you should make sure you're doing is educating the customer. We want to bring that customer along. That customer should always be with us, and it's got to be engaging and entertaining for them. They have to be part of finding this problem. If they're part of finding this problem, they're going to be looking to us like, oh, what do we do? My favorite example was I rode along with a salesperson in Michigan, and he had the customer come with. He had her open the furnace. And as she was opening it, he said, I don't want to see any rust, dust, mold, moisture when we open this up. Shockingly, as she opened it up, there was a whole bunch of dust and cobwebs and all kinds of stuff in there, right? And she looked at him. She looked up at him like, what do we do? She found the problem. And now she's looking at him. How do we solve this? What's the solution? It's that road leading to the solution. So all of this, at the end of this, you should be established as a trusted expert. They have to see you as a trusted expert, not just another salesperson. If they see you as a trusted expert, they will gladly follow you through the process. Another example, this is another company out of Michigan, but Michigan must have some really good salespeople. But I was riding along with another salesperson in Michigan, and we were the second one in. So another company had been out there already. First company had quoted $7,000. Our price that we had quoted on one of the options was $14,000. And that's the one the customer chose. The customer chose an option that cost twice as much as the previous option. And not only was she happy about it, not only was she buying it and paying twice as much, as they wrapped up, the salesperson said to her, is there anything else I can do to help? And she said, no, I just feel blessed. She used the word blessed and then gave him a hug. And then she hugged me and I didn't even do anything. Like she didn't even know me, right? Like she felt blessed because she saw him as a trusted expert. She paid twice the amount $7,000 more, and she felt blessed. Now, the other thing you need is you need the ability to overcome objections. You need to be able to identify objections. You need to be able to empathize with that customer. You need to be able to solve those objections. I mean, when I do the objection boot camp, I usually open up by asking, what objections are you running into? And have everybody write them down. And then we make a master list. And there's a lot of different versions of the same objection, really. But when you boil it down, there's like 5, 6 different objections. And maybe I'm oversimplifying that, but my point is there's not a lot of objections. We know what the customer is going to say most times. And when we know what they're going to say, we can have a response ready to go. And this response, it can't be, haha, gotcha, or I closed a bunch of doors and forced you to make a sale now. Like, it can't be that. It's got to be a respectful conversation. It's got to be with that mindset of helping the customer. That's what I built the entire objection boot camp on. I built the entire objection boot camp on how do you have conversations to solve problems, i.e. objections, in a respectful manner. That was the whole point of the objection boot camp. And can you do that? Can you identify, empathize, and solve objections in a respectful manner? If you can do that, that's a big part of the one-trip close. And the last thing I would say, and this ties into objections as well, is the high authority close. Discounting, right? But I only want discounting to go through the high authority, through the manager. There's a very specific way I want discounting done. If you do it any other way, every other time I've seen somebody do it a different way or make it their own, it turns into some creepy used car close. But if you do that high authority close, the customer's happy, the company's happy, you're going to be happy, and it's going to fill install spots. And that's my number one priority. I need to fill install spots. Because if I have open install spots that don't get filled, I still have to cover overhead for the day. And so that eats away at my profits. It erodes my profits. One missed install in an entire week will erode the profits from that week. 2 in a week will put you in a hole. So the one-trip close. Yes, it can absolutely be done. Is it easy? No. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of golden BBs, but it can absolutely be done. That's today's question of the day. If you're enjoying question of the day, follow, share, and give a rating. Question of the day is on major streaming platforms. If you have a question, reach out to me either on social media or email. Both are going to be listed in the show description. Let's get your question answered. And if you're a Nexstar member, schedule a call with me. Let's get this addressed one-on-one and get very specific to your situation. I'm Coach Chris. We'll see you tomorrow.